Shalom, shalom, Israel. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Kakadash. Double honor to the apostles, elders, and great bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, salutations, blessings to the elect, pushing the word across the four corners of earth, risking your life to do so. And check this out. Been watching the news. But you gotta watch the news. Like they say, you miss a day, you miss a lot. It's daily. And that's for myself first and foremost. It says exhort one another daily. It says put not off day to day. You know, could be just a short video. You know, it doesn't have to be a long sit down or something and try to, overcomplicate something. Because the word of the Lord ultimately is simple. All right, but in breaking news, you got troops, U.S. troops, right? Because I've heard reports where basically the IDF is saying, well, when we link with U.S. forces, they're going to do the fighting for us. And if that's the case, matter of fact, let's go ahead and start now. Which in Ezekiel 39, we know that Russia's coming into play. But it's going to be some Israeli forces fighting as well, pursuant to Ezekiel 39. But you got U.S. troops literally, as I say, jumping ship. They're jumping ship. All right, check it out.
Food obviously has been scarce. All he's really told me is there's a time where he was only eating half a cup of rice and 2 tortillas. The morale is bad. You're not being able to shower. They don't have toiletries. They're having to share stuff. They're exhausted. Trump doesn't want the bad publicity. He knows that you can't tell me he does not know what's going on over there. You cannot tell me that he does not know that they don't have food. He knows. He knows. Pete Hegseth. Send Pete Hegseth over there. Then you come tell us that everything is okay. Because what we're hearing from our children or our spouses or whomever is not that.
So this is not good because now...
So, and basically, these deployments are usually from about 6 to 9 months, which they said this particular ship is going on about 9 months. And this is what happens when you keep, soldiers on these different ships like that. This is why, like with the military, they'll send guys to the front lines and then they'll send the next wave to relieve them, right? Then they'll get to go to the back and then the next wave to, they try to keep pushing it in waves. But in this case, we're being pulled in so many directions, the troops not going to get the rest like that, like they usually would. They're not going to be on the same rotation. You might have to be out there for some time. This is what it means for it to be a world war. All right, Ecclesiastes 12:1. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. All right, this is when you're supposed to remember the Creator in the days of your youth. The scriptures actually say that it's better for a young man to come and serve the Lord. Thou hast taught me from my youth, and I will declare thy wondrous works. Because what a lot of the youth do is, we already know, they want to sign up for the army, sign up for all this stuff, and then they can kind of pay for everything. They get a housing voucher, whatever. But what we're trying to tell you is, you sign up for this, that's it. Right? He will remove the northern army far from you. That's why without a vision, the people perish, because you're not gonna know where to be at. You're not gonna know. But the scriptures say what? Go not in the plain way that thou mayest stumble. You're not just gonna do just anything, trying to guess. Like, go not in the rocks that thou should not stumble. Be not confident in a plain way. See, now is not the time. It was never the time to join Esau's army. It's definitely not the time now. All right, because they're not coming back. They got static over there, the Middle East. They got static over in the South China Sea. A lot of disputes over that. China's trying to expand into those islands. You know, we got ships over there, and we got ships over that have to kind of watch and monitor the area between Russia and the United States. All right, that's why it's time for that Northern Army to be rounded up. Like in Ukraine, they're getting to the point where they done got to the capital. You know, that's why they're becoming desperate. The Ukrainians are trying to blow up all the warehouses, all of the biggest Russian warehouses, which the military also uses. The wild berries, Russian Amazon, basically. They're trying to get rid of them, but at this point in time, Ukraine is cooked. Right, and they showed, matter of fact, it's called bussification. So it's supposedly a slang term, but basically they could just grab you. These recruiters can just snatch military-aged men and bring you in. You got to serve now. They could just pull you out your car. You will serve. You will fight. They try to look. His family try to. See, Esau's done, man. Your morale is low. The soldiers are all weak. They're actually jumping off of the ship. Like, where you gonna go when you jump off a ship? Some of the guys trying to off themselves, talking about they having a mental health problem. See, the Lord don't care about none of that. You will go fight in the desert. Here's another one. Because all these guys they're grabbing up basically know there's a good chance you might not make it back. They got to actually carry them off. Say ordinary, but so this is just ordinary for them.
Stop! I'm American. Get out of here. Stop!
So this ain't America.
Hey, get out! Stop!
And now,
Get out!
do I think that they'll pull this one here? I don't know. But a mandatory draft is a mandatory draft. And if people ain't trying to fight, they could result in taking some type of police action to try to enforce it. Like Ali. Ali was the champ. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he failed the test. But they still tried to draft him anyway. And then they ultimately ended up putting him in jail, stripping him of his title, right? Stripping him all that. He couldn't really fight in his prime. Then he had to come back later and fight. Man, that's a lot of videos. I didn't even expect it to be this many. Yeah, they could just grab you, Will. But if the Russians take over, shit, then the whole country is going to fall anyway. So if they say you got to fight, you got to fight. Look, they had to pull this dude's wife off him. because she knows she ain't going to see him no more. So Ukrainians say this incident had become common. This dude got maced. You get the picture, though. All right, Ecclesiastes 12:2. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars cannot be darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. And the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and see, that's the day we're coming to. All these chief financial people are shaking up because there's no more little hacks that they can do, no more copy and paste. It says, and the strong men shall bow themselves. Right? All your military men, they're going to be bowed down. They're going to be afraid. Scripture say they're going to be like women. And the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. Right? Because things are looking bleak. And that's how it's looking right now. And over in the Middle East, shit, 2 Ezra 13 and 8, the Lord is going to put the spirit on them to fight against them. He's actually going to put the spirit on them. And that's why these armies against the Lord is known as, it says Satan and his angels. I'm going to get that next. Just like Pharaoh, they threw down their staffs, plural. Right? Moses threw down his staff, and his staff swallowed up the other staffs. Right, it says, after all this I beheld, and lo, all they which was gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. Durst means dare. They dared to fight. Like, you dare to fight against the Lord? Yeah, they're going to dare to fight against the Lord. They're going to be that foolish. Right, even after all of this, even after Esau and treated them like shit, like, people don't understand when we say fighting the wilderness, the desert. That's not a fun location to be in. It's not enough. It's not a lot of greenery. It's always fucking hundreds of degrees hot. I've talked to people who had to like move in the tanks. Basically, they had to stay moving. You had to stop, take a shit, wipe yourself, barely have time to wipe yourself and keep it moving. Or if they did stop, you got to sleep under the tank. It's always hot. All right, you're on limited rations. Because Esau's trying to throw every man he can. Just the foolishness of this man. All right, Revelation 12. And 7. Yeah, in this war, he said, I will call Michael, the great prince, for that day. This is where Michael gets to show out. Yeah, Daniel 12. This is talking about the end. This is talking about now. Daniel 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book of life. So Michael is going to show out, man. He's going to prove his name. Like, you think of all the Michaels all the greats named Michael, like, who is like the Most High? Maya Ka'ala. Yeah, who is like the Most High. But he going to show that he's the Michael, the great prince. He finna get down. All right, Revelation 12:7. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels was fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought in his angels. All right, that's who's about to fight. Michael and the angels, the heavenly hosts, right? The captain of our salvation with him versus the dragon and his angels, right? Esau and his angels, his troops. And they're going to dare fight against the forces of the Lord, thinking that they're going to win. All right, so this thing is going to be beautiful. Showing that the Lord controls the spirits and the minds of men. And yeah, you troops are going to get dragged through the mud. Like she said, she was talking to her son. He was only eating rice and tortillas. Y'all finna do all of that. All that famine, all that training y'all did. Conditioning and having to listen to some Edomite yell and spit all up in your face. All that for you to be destroyed. For all you jakes in the military. All right. And that's even if you make it that far to the final battle. Because a lot more can happen to you along the way. But Lord willing, this is edifying. This is why you have to constantly review this book. Like the scriptures say, let every man understand his own way. Like you as a man, you have to constantly read, meditate, and understand what your path is supposed to be, because your path is not going to be exactly what somebody else's path is. Your lot is not the exact same as another man's lot. Now you can watch, you can try to study certain men of the Lord, study what they say, and parrot them, but once you get to a certain level, you start to understand there are certain things I have to implement for myself, where I have to actually implement what the scriptures say in real time versus trying to parrot and trying to copy somebody else. And that's how you grow. Now you actually take the lesson and apply it. And that's what makes you a good student. Not being the parrot. All right, but Lord willing, is edifying. Shalom to your elect.